A long summer coming to an end and another year with the Evergreen Park Community High School Mustang football team and Coach Jim Ramazinski, down here at the 9-Foot Homemade Oak Bar on the EP podcast for our weekly show. How are you, Coach?
Very good. The bar's looking good. We're ready to roll.
Yeah, you know what? We've been waiting for you. I'm excited. And you know what's great is that, like, Coach is the one that reached out to me. Like, I'm not even looking at the calendar. He's like, we're going to do the show? And I'm like, yeah, we're doing the show. What day is it? Like, you know, I had to send off my oldest to college, like, just about a week and a half ago. Like, my mind was on anything except for, like, stuff that was coming up in September. So I'm glad you reached out. I'm glad we're back doing it this year. You had an exciting year last year. I mean, as we kick this off, you've had time to think about it now. What did you think about your year last year, your first year? And what did you feel about it after the dust had settled and it had been a couple of months?
Well, the first year is tough for a lot of reasons, mainly because you're kind of getting used to a new role, and for me, a new school, new classes, new students. But at the same time, I was fortunate because I knew a lot of kids from the neighborhood already from living around here.
You live right up the block from the school, yeah.
We have a great staff. My coaches were very helpful first year, and you got to lean on those guys. And I've known a few of them for years before that. We had a great relationship. Our coaches, they were fantastic. Our administration team was super supportive, but most importantly, we had kids that were really reliable and wanted to work hard. And we're able to achieve some success. We always want more success, of course, but we were happy with them. And then as the season progresses and ends, and you're in a whirlwind during it, you go to the playoffs, and it comes to an end. One of the biggest things that when I looked back and reflected on was I was just so proud at graduation, seeing those seniors go off. The majority of our seniors are going on to college, 4-year universities, and also we were fortunate enough to have 6 players go on to play at the next level.
That's awesome.
From last year. And, texting with some of those guys now, keeping in touch with them here and there. We're both busy, all of us. They're in season, I'm in season. It's just great to see. And, I'm just proud to be at the school, proud to be the football coach there.
Very, very cool. So now you have a season approaching here, and I'm looking at your schedule. And we've talked about this before. We talked about it last year. You set up things with opposing schools that are outside of your conference, and it's like a 2-year agreement. You're 1-1. So that's your first 2 games of the season, right?
Yeah.
And so you've seen these teams before. You just switch where you're playing at. So Marengo's who you're going to start off with, and then Longwood. Then you go, and then you finally have a home game. You have Oak Lawn. Thornton Fractional North is because of where you and they finished in the standings. Explain that to me real quick.
Yeah, so the SSC conference, the South Suburban Conference, is broken down into 2 different colors. We're in the red side, and TF North is on the blue side. And how it works with your non-conference games when you're playing a team from the blue is it goes by how each team placed. So last year we took second in conference on the red side. TF North also took second on the blue side. They lost by, I believe it was 1 point to Lamont. Who won that side? Lamont ended up winning that side. So TF North they had a very competitive year. They were on the up. We're excited for the challenge when we get to that point.
That's awesome. And then you got Shepherd, Eisenhower, Revis, Richards, Argo at the end of the season. So most of these you've seen before. That's the thing with high school football. Like, you see the same program. So do you know how you've changed this year? Before we get into that, how do you gauge how all these teams have changed? Is that something you only focus on as you're approaching that week, or do you kind of have an inkling of where programs are going?
You always have an inkling of where they're going, but to be honest, when you get week to week is when you really start breaking it down. Like, for example, looking at Marengo, like, I take their roster from last year, I take their roster from this year, I compare it to the film, I see who's back, who's not back, I see if they had returners not come back, I see, obviously key positions, QB, Is he back? Is he not?
Did one of their players grow a foot and a half? Like stuff like that.
Yeah. I look
I mean,
for
it
that.
is high school. I got a nephew who's shooting up right now.
No, definitely.
And it's like, oh, man.
I look for that, but I'm more trying to see, okay, what guys are back, at what positions, and, how many are back is a big question. I only seen me personally, I've only seen all these teams one time, with the exception of TF North. We've never faced that, or I've never faced them. And really, like I remember at my previous school when I was on year 5 or 6 being in the same conference, now you start to know teams really, really well.
And you learn the coaches.
Yes. You learn the coaches.
You get tendencies and things.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely. That was, especially me being a defensive coordinator all those years, that was a big part of it. And it's good going into the games now, not just seeing it on film, but having seen it live with my own eyes to understand what the other team's strengths are, what maybe things that we can kind of exploit on them, and if we're successful at it. And the beauty is, though, I have a coaching staff that has been in this conference, so I'm not going to lie to you. I lean on them a lot to help me with certain things, and it takes a full commitment from a large group of people to be successful. And it's, no one man, no one player can do it. And what we're trying to instill in our players in our program is we want everyone to be 4-year players there who stick with the program, who understand what we're trying to accomplish, and who are willing to work towards our goals.
Now, one of the things we're really lucky about here on the EP podcast, having Coach Ram join us here during the season. One of the things I've always wanted to avoid is become a scouting show for your opponent. Like, I never want to give away something that we never give away.
I try not to give away too much.
Yeah, you don't want to give away
things
things either. So, like, last year you had an injury at quarterback, and I remember we kind of danced around it a little bit because we don't want to give a competitive advantage to the other team. But now it's over, right? That quarterback has moved on. Did he go on to football?
He's actually playing at McAllister College in Minnesota. He made a full recovery for his injury. Dejan was just such a phenomenal kid, such a phenomenal student.
I know it hurt when he got hurt last year. It really bothered you, and I know that it because he's a good kid, and you're like, here's his senior year, and the thing's over.
It really hurt. Yeah. It hurt me because I, of course, missed him at our starting quarterback. But even more importantly than that, just honestly, like seeing how much it hurt him made me really feel for him. We were fortunate that Aiden Bench stepped up, did a good job for us, and but that's a football season. I mean, you can't go into a season and assume that your number 1 guy, your number 2 guy, your number 30 guy is going to stay healthy.
Yeah, kids hurt themselves easy.
Pardon?
Kids hurt themselves very easily.
Yeah,
they all think they're indestructible, and then something weird happens, and all of a sudden they got a broken something or other.
Well, and it's, injuries are a part of every sport. They're a part of football. Creating a tough mindset for our kids is something that we're trying to do every day to understand, we're here to play football. We understand that, yes, things are going to happen, but we're still going to do it. And we're still going to do it as hard as we can every opportunity we get on Friday night.
So your quarterback graduated. Your solution to the injury graduated. So you had no quarterback. So we'll start off with that. What happened at the QB position, and what do you have going on there this year?
Well, we're very fortunate because we have 2 quarterbacks on the varsity level that are very competitive varsity quarterbacks. We have Rowan Smythe came out, played football for us this year. We're happy that he's out.
He had not played it before for you?
He played his freshman year, and he came back for his senior year. He's if you follow any EP sports, you've seen him on the baseball field. He's just committed to play baseball at Lewis University.
Oh, this is like a Friday Night Lights thing. This is like Coach Taylor, if you've ever seen that show. You needed a quarterback. You went and found the baseball player and said, "Can you throw a football again?" Like that. This is. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, to me, I think it's there's a lot of ingenuity there. I mean, you guys don't have super deep benches. I mean, it reminds me of like watching that TV show though. Like small school needs to figure something out. You're like, let's go talk to that guy. He's athletic. He used to play. Hey kid, you want to play quarterback again? How's that been going?
It's been going good. And the great thing about it though is we have a sophomore, Tyler Phelps, who is, he's got a lot of talent, and he was the Frost-Off quarterback last year. He's an extremely hardworking kid. He's a fantastic student, fantastic athlete. He's a sophomore who's willing to take on the responsibility and, the pressure that comes with being a varsity quarterback, which I don't care what anyone says. It is the hardest position to play in all of sports. So I commend both Roe and Tyler for what they're doing.
It sounds like you have two guys that could be possibly your starter. Like, do you have a starter right now, or are they both getting a shot at some point?
We have two quarterbacks right now.
Yeah. Okay. I like that answer. That's fun. I'm sure they like that answer too. That's the way it should be. I think that's awesome. So that's going to be a fun thing to watch. So now, every team's got a couple of guys. They're explosive playmakers. They're big guys on defense. Do you have anybody right now in your head that you're waiting to see if they have a massive season? Like somebody that it's like, this is one of our guys, and I want to see what they do this year.
Well, I truly believe that the heart and soul of our team is David Johnson. You heard his name a lot.
Yeah, I did.
He's back. He played running back last year for us. Him, Jed, and Tony last year kind of split a lot of the carries, and we had Justin in there as well, which we'll talk about him in a second. But David got a lot of carries last year and did a really good job. And on top of that, he was playing linebacker last year. He's a great player. He's a wrestler. He's tough. He's a leader. He works extremely hard, and he wants to be the best player on the field. So we're excited for him coming back. Genesis Ward is another kid coming back on defense.
I remember that name from last year too.
Yeah, David was all conference. Genesis was all conference last year as a junior. Both of them were juniors last year. Genesis is a pretty significant threat on the edge in the run game and pass game. I think he's going to have a big year, and he's gotten bigger, gotten stronger, gotten faster. So we're looking forward to see what he does. Caleb Kaiser's another kid who's back with us. He was an all-conference free safety for us last year, played a little offense as well. And what was great about Caleb was seeing him just kind of week to week last year take a little step forward, a little step forward, a little step forward. And, by the end of the season, he was rolling. He's a really nice player, got very, very, very good ball skills as far as catching and timing and things like that. But at the same time, can come and thump somebody down pretty good.
One of the things, I was having a conversation with somebody, and you guessed who it was, but we don't need to give up the name here if you don't want to. But I was having a conversation, and they were talking about how their kid was going back to football after a long time off in grammar school. And I said, they love that over there at EP High School because they also love to teach. So in the middle of, I got this guy, he came back, he's faster, he's stronger. I've got we're looking to build on what we did last year. You're looking at like all that stuff at the higher level. There's also an aspect of the teaching that I think you guys enjoy, right?
Well, and we have to teach a lot of kids this year, which is fine. We graduated a lot of guys. I mentioned it at the front end. We had 6 kids go on to play college football. That's a tough thing to replace. So you're going to see, as we progress throughout the season, you're going to see a ton of new faces, that's football. It's going to be great. And we had, you have an opportunity to teach them how to play the game and how to play it the right way. And sometimes a kid that hasn't played it for a while, they come in so, I guess you could say, almost like baby steps.
Yeah.
That they learn it the right way the first time, ready to go. And we have a lot, like I said, you're going to see a lot of new faces this year. But we had a great summer camp, teaching them the technique, teaching them how to be a teammate, teaching them how to be in the program, and we're hoping to see it come to fruition with success on the field.
All right, let's talk about Marengo. First game, kicking it off. I mean, are you excited? I know you're the kind of guy that doesn't look at the whole schedule. I was going to be like, what do you think of your whole schedule? And you were just going to be like, I only do this 1 week at a time, Chris. I don't look at the whole schedule, so I'm not even going to bother you with that, okay? Marengo, what are you preparing for this week? What are we going to see?
Marengo was a great first game last year. It was a competitive game. We ended up winning 20-14. They're very well coached. I know they have guys coming back just like we do. They lost guys just like we did. Big difference this year is we're on the road. It's a little bit of a long journey, which, it's a great way to test your team early on. Going on a long road trip, you got, first Friday night, got to get out there, small town, far away. We are excited. They're going to be big. They're going to be strong. last year they ran the ball quite a bit. A little bit of passing game. I know their QB is back, so we'll see. I'm sure he's progressed. He was a nice player last year. And we're excited for an opportunity to go almost on a mini road trip and show what we have.
Team building, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the first game of the year, take a road trip, go to a small town, probably has that feel where you come in there, the whole town's going to the game and stuff like that. That's a team building moment.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? It's going to be a challenge. I like this matchup with Marengo because we have we're a similar size school. We have similar levels of success in recent years. They're a pretty consistent playoff team, just like we are. And it's a good matchup. It's going to be a fun night. We look forward to seeing them at Marengo.
All right. Evergreen Park Mustangs taking on Marengo on the road on Friday night, the 30th, kicking off a very long weekend for all of us, but they are just focused on that first game of the season. They're on the road for the first 2 weeks, and then they're home finally with Oak Lawn on the 13th of September. And Coach Ram is not even thinking about that right now because he just thinks about the game that is sitting directly in front of him. I'm looking forward to a fun year talking with you. And, I come into these things extremely confident because you seem confident whenever I talk to you. Like, I don't know anything about your team. I just look at your face and I'm like, I think we're going to be good this year.
Well, I mean, you got to be confident because when your players see that you're confident, they gain their confidence. And, football, it's a long season. You got to ride the wave. It's not, there's ups, there's downs, there's points where I don't care who you are. Everybody at one point in the season will look in the mirror and say, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But you have to continue to push. We're trying to make sure our kids understand what it takes to be we want to be elite. We want to be elite. And we know it's challenging. But it's something that myself, our coaches, and our players, and I believe our community would want to see. And we want to be there. We want to be making our town proud. And we want to make sure that Evergreen Park football is on topic of mind of all times in this community.
Evergreen Park football is Mustang football. Coach Jim Ramazinski will be back next week. Good luck in your first game, Coach.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.